Hey guys, what is up? It's Rob here, and we're going to be doing the nightly watch list again for Thursday, coming into Friday, which is going to be an option expiration day. So huge movements can be made in the option chain, 1,000%ers. So let's get excited. It's about to be Friday. Come on. But first things first, let's get into the news. All right, guys. So last night, right, we actually had news come out from Apple. And what ended up happening with Apple was they said they were going to put aside their VR headset to compete with Meta because Meta has teamed up with Ray-Bans to make AI glasses. Now, Apple wants to get into the game, and they said that's what they're going to prioritize going forward. So, this could be a huge thing for Apple going forward. All right. Next thing we have here is FICO news came out, right? Everyone's heard of FICO. What's your credit score, right? You're trying to get a loan. You're trying to get a credit card. What's your credit score? What's your credit score? So FICO actually launched, right, a new, idea for their business, which would be to direct license, right, the FICO scores to lenders, okay? So that way they're not going to have to go through Equifax or Experian or TransUnion. So what this does is it's cutting out the middleman because FICO now, this move, actually, they're aiming to cut out the bureau markups and give lenders more transparent pricing. So FICO, okay, had a huge move off of this. Okay. I mean, I think we're talking about 15% today off that. Look at that, right? Closed up over 18%. So you can see here, let me draw it out. All right, yesterday we were trading about $1,500. Okay. I mean, the stock ran up, okay, at the open all the way up to $2,000, okay, off of this news. And FICO is one of these stocks where you're like, wow, like, this thing does really good and, you really wouldn't expect it. So if I pull this chart out for you, I mean, look at this. I mean, you could go back to 2022 and we're looking at a $412 stock that ran all the way up to 2,400. So, turns out when everyone's talking about, hey, what's your credit score? What's your credit score? Your FICO score? All right, well, huge, player in the lending business, all right, economy. And now here you go, you see the name up 17, almost 18% on the day because they're going to be cutting out the middleman going forward from their business. So next thing we had here was Tesla, right? All right. If we look at the last watch list from yesterday, okay, make sure to always tune the watch list, stay up to date on the news. Yesterday I was telling you that Tesla was up 2.5% ahead of their delivery data because in the morning they were going to report how many cars they delivered. Okay. And that number came out in the morning at 497,000, which was Tesla's most reported deliveries ever. Okay. And the estimate was 439,000. So they beat the estimate. And people were really, looking forward to this number because analysts, investors, right, and the public wanted to see, well, with the tax credit ending, did people actually go out and front run that tax credit ending and buy more Teslas? Okay, so those numbers came out, and you see 497,000 actual deliveries where customers took possession of their Tesla. All right, so what I'm going to show you now is how the stock react. So boom, right? You see those numbers come out in the pre-market, okay? You see this candle up going from 467 all the way up to 480. So off the initial reaction, right? Big move, okay? But then you see as soon as the market came down, all right, you're seeing boom, this sell-off, okay? So Tesla was actually closed down 5%. And you go, well, Rob, what happened? I mean, why did Tesla close down 5%? They just killed it on their delivery numbers. Well, I mean, the market, okay, was already up 2.5% on this news yesterday. Okay, they front run the delivery numbers, okay, and this is a classic sell the news headline. So, the market was, already knew that, people were going to go out and, purchase cars ahead of this. So, the market's forward thinking. So that's why you already saw this huge move up on Tesla. because they knew, all right, people were going to be buying Teslas before the tax credit expired. So sell the news event happened. All right, boom, stock sold off because now the big question is, will, the Tesla story continue? Will people still take delivery orders, all right, with the price of the car going up now that the EV tax credit has expired? Okay, to be determined, but that's why the stock was down 5% today. Okay, next thing I got for you here is Netflix. All right, Netflix was down for their fourth day in a row amid mass cancellations of Netflix subscribers. Okay, now this is their longest losing streak since February. Okay, now for those that don't know, all right, like I was telling you yesterday in the watch list, Elon Musk came out yesterday and started a boycott on Netflix. Okay, and he was telling everyone to go out and cancel their Netflix subscriptions, and he was doing it again today. And this started to pick up traction. Okay, I mean, a lot of people were going out and canceling their Netflix subscriptions. Okay, which caused the longest losing streak since February. And on top of it, you've had this news in the background, that really hasn't been talked about much. But Trump said that he was going to impose 100% tariffs on foreign-made movies. So you pair Elon Musk telling everyone to cancel Netflix subscriptions with Trump coming out, Trump administration saying we're going to put 100% tariffs. Okay, that's going to cause a move in the stock. Okay, so what you can see here is Tesla was down about 1% on the day. Okay, so you could say, all right, well, that doesn't look too bad. Okay, but as you pull the chart out, okay, you can start to see, we're getting a sell-off in this name. Now, if you look at the stock just from today, in the morning, okay, you had this move down. Okay, boom, fat candle down, continue down, and it kind of ran up on the close. So, we'll see where this story continues to go, but definitely a name to watch. Could have a lot of movement. Okay, this Elon Musk headline news is definitely something to be paying attention for. So there you go. There's the news on Netflix. All right, next thing we got for you is Google. Okay, now they were in the headlines today because another AI company called Perplexity is actually making their $200 a month AI browser free for everyone. Okay, so that sent down Google stock today because, investors were going, well, I mean, this isn't good. I mean, we already have ChatGPT, which people were afraid of saying, oh my God, people are going to use Google less because why would they Google something when they can go into ChatGPT and search it there? So now you have another huge AI name that, was $200 a month, an AI browser, now going to become free for everyone. Okay. So you see this huge move here when the news got released? I mean, sent the stock down big time. So something to be watching out for with Google. I mean, they have been running still off of this AI fear, but, still running up, but, definitely a risk for the company. Definitely something to be paying attention to. All right. On to the next news for the day. What I got for you here is Humana and UNH. Okay. Now these stocks, okay, have been presented so much opportunity. All right. And if you don't know, these companies have been under headlines, especially Humana, because the healthcare industry, right? Humana had it's called a star downgrade. Now, essentially what that means is, the government compensates Humana for, pays them back for insurance costs, right? And, depending how much money they get is based on their star rating. So Humana has actually been getting killed because that got a downgrade, right, a couple, months ago, and that story's been still developing. While at the same time, UNH got killed because, healthcare costs are going up, so these insurers are getting killed, and, a lot of opportunity because, Warren Buffett, he just reported that, he invested in UNH and took, a long-term position in the company. So, when you get news regarding, Humana and about their earnings and anything that has to do, okay, with their star rating, okay, that's going to move the stock. So what you saw today, right, in the name, which I'm going to pull up for you right now, Humana, HUM ticker symbol, okay? I mean, look at that move, all right? This is a classic news candle, all right? you get the news, you look at the bottom, okay, you see a bunch of volume come into the name, all right, and it went up because the headline was, right, that with the star rating, we actually could see improved profitability for Humana. So the name flew all the way from 245 up to 266. And the option chain went absolutely ridiculous. I mean, these options right here are expiring October 3rd, which is Friday. And I mean, we were looking at the 270 call. I mean, it closed at, 30 cents on the day. But if we actually pull this out in a chart, I mean, these options went absolutely crazy. Um, I mean, we saw the spreads widen so fast, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today with this name. Look, these options here went from 20 cents, okay, a low of the day of 10, all the way up to 500. $10, okay, $20 to $500 off of this news. Okay, now this was a hard news play to hit on the options chain because once it hit, the market makers just widen the spreads. Okay, we're talking about $300 from the bid to the ask. Okay, and that was a crazy move. And what you saw was, you know, market makers jack the chain up, and then as the stock trades sideways the rest of the day, they closed the spreads. Okay, and then the implied volatility got crushed, and option contract went down. So two things I wanted to call out for was the news, right, affecting the stock, but at the same time you have to be cautious when you trade in news headlines in the options chain because you have to look at the spreads. I'm talking about the bid was going for $2, okay, the ask was 5. I mean, you're buying at the ask for 5, but you got to sell at the bid. So depending on where you got in on the ask, you got to ask yourself and do an analysis and go, well, if I'm selling on the bid, where can I actually exit this trade? Okay, so definitely something to pay attention to. Go into the option chain, right? Look what happened today on that, and it'd be a really good learning opportunity. Next thing we have for you, ticker symbol LTUM. Okay, now this is just a rumor, nothing confirmed, but like I was telling you in the last watch list, you're getting a lot of hype over government equity positions, right? It all started with Intel, where they took a position there, okay? And if you look at Wednesday's watch list, I was telling you guys about LAC, a lithium company, where the shares jumped 32% after the Department of Energy said they would take a 5% equity stake. Okay, well, now today, ticker symbol LTUM, a rumor. Okay, just a rumor, nothing confirmed, right? You saw this, right? You guys are not going to believe what happened in the stock, okay? LTUM. Okay, right? It trades over the counter, but it's a penny stock. And when this news headline came out, it was 12.59, okay? When I got the news headline. And you could have bought this for 6 cents, okay? And what ended up happening was it ran up all the way to the close today, all right, to 44 cents. Okay, from yesterday's open to today, that's an increase of 1,000%. Okay, that's a 10x. What we're talking about is you put $100 in, turned it into 1,000. Okay, and that's from following the news headline. Okay, and you know what? Just to confirm it, I'm gonna pull it up for you. Right, where I got the news from and the time. So give me 1 second here, because I'm going to show you, right, if you're quick on the news, right, how much money can you actually get off of moving it. Okay, so here we go. Let me pull it up for you. Boom, here we go. Look, X from a profile called Zero Hedge. What they said was, okay, all right, after Lithium Americas, now the market is focusing next on LTUM as the next possible U.S. government investment stock surgeon. Okay, none of this was confirmed, all right? This might be, this is probably going to turn out to not even be true, right? To be determined, we'll have to see. But, like I was saying on another watch list, there's a lot of hype around these government investments. So this tweet came out, right, 12:59, okay? Let's go back to the stock chart so I can show you. All right, the price it was at $12.59. Okay, here we are. This candle right here. Okay, look up here where you can see the time. Okay, look, 12.59. It hit a low of 6 cents. Okay, you could have got in even a minute after. Okay, 7-8 cents. Boom, ran up here, 34 cents, sold off, all the way up to 44. So I'm telling you, man, stay locked into the watch list. I'm giving you guys the news. I'm telling you what's moving the market. Okay, these are the names to pay attention to. All right, this is what's going down in the market. Huge runner. All right, a lot of hype in the market. Right, valuations are getting crazy. Okay, government is investing equity stakes. Here's another example for you. All right, next thing I got for you is Rumble. Okay, for those not familiar, Rumble is a streaming platform that rivals Twitch. Okay, now headline came after market close today, but Rumble and Perplexity, right, AI company I was just telling you about that affected Google, Rumble and Perplexity actually formed a strategic partnership, okay, where, Perplexity's AI tools are going to be integrated into rumble.com. So it's actually going to be a bundled subscription with Perplexity Pro, and that's going to launch soon. So let me share here with you what just happened with the stock after hours. Okay, here you go. All right, closed 7.4, ran all the way up to 9.8. So, this is the type of stuff I'm talking about here. What I'm going to try to do for you here is load up my watch list here on the side. So look at that. Look, an extended hours trading over here. Okay, it's up almost 10.5%. Okay, so we're gonna see where this news goes in the morning. Okay, but Rumble and Perplexity are teaming up to do AI in the streaming software. And I wanted to end the watch list as far as the news goes with this interesting headline. Trump said he is considering taxpayer rebates of $1,000 to $2,000 using tariff money. So, hey, who knows? Maybe some of you guys will be getting $1,000 or $2,000 paychecks from Trump, giving back some of the tariff money. So there you go, guys. That's the news for the day. All right, that's what happened in the market. All right, it wasn't a crazy day, right? We had some news come out, in the morning for Apple, FICO, Tesla. All right, and throughout the day, it was kind of a muted day. So that's what we got for you tonight. Stay locked in, guys. All right, get a long-term portfolio. Okay, all right, invest for the long term. Set up the monthly deposits. Keep making good trades. Follow the news. Stay locked in, and let's go.